I go extra every day, I got extras on the way. How much? Extra, extra. How much? Extra, extra.
Welcome to the Pittsburgh Real Estate Project, the show that digs deeper into the bricks and the BS of the real estate in the 412. I'm Matt Dingus. I'm a local investor and a real estate agent here. Today I have with me my great friend, investor, and everyone's favorite Pittsburgh contractor, Omar Mohamed. What's going on, Omar?
Matthew, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. I'm going to get right into it, all right? This is awesome to have you on the first one. I know you have a lot to say, so I'm going to dig into it a little bit with you, all right?
Yep.
All right, so first off, tell us your story. I want to hear how you landed into real estate, into contracting, and how you landed in Pittsburgh ultimately. I want to hear from start to finish how you got here, the brief story of Omar, and how you got to.
Absolutely. So it started from Egypt, right? Originally from Egypt, immigrant to the United States for the American dream. And I was working for AT&T, the cell phone company, and I got promotion to come to Pittsburgh as the area manager. While that was going, I just started digging, and besides being an employee, how can I escape the rat race, escape the matrix, and start looking at penny stocks, day trading, something you can do and make money while you're away. Real estate came across, and I got really excited. I think I saw some videos about people wholesaling. I was like, oh, I can do that. Start looking, lots of pizza, YouTube videos, and start getting into it, start cold calling, So I was in Pittsburgh already. I didn't know that Pittsburgh was a great market. That just happened, it just happened to be one of the best places that we get a lot of people from all around to invest in Pittsburgh. And picked up the phone, start making phone calls, landed a couple deals, didn't know what to do, how to bid them, how to get them, but got a couple under contract, assigned them, made my first wholesale check. And I was like, that still feels like a job, there's not much difference between doing this and working for AT&T. So I was like, oh, it would be nice to own them. I start meeting these people that are buying the houses. One of them is John, my friend John Fagelli. And I was like, John, what are you buying and doing with this house? And he just started laughing. He was like, you have no clue. I was like, no, I just watched that a couple of weeks in. And he was like, I renovated and rent them. That's exactly what I want to do. Rental can come in. I can be in Egypt or anywhere. Money can keep coming. And got my first property. And then, from there, got the second, the third. It was very hard to find a contractor. So I became the general contractor to go big. And that's how it started.
So tell me about Egypt and why you decided to come to the U.S. because I feel like that's a great story and I know about it, but I feel like it gives a lot about you and helps people understand where you come from.
Yeah, absolutely. So 20 years old Omar in Egypt always had a dream, right? I've always seen America just like the TV and the land of opportunity. And Egypt is a great country, but also there's no Egyptian dream. You can work really hard there, but not see a huge return or might not see a return at all. Because just economic and how everything's going. That's not the case in America, right? In America, you can come here and you can achieve the American dream if you put the work in. Really, no matter where you at in life, you can come in, you can start, and you can make something happen because this is the place you can make things happen. It's the States. I just had an idea if I can get there, I can make big things happen. Didn't know how, but it was just an idea. Let me go to America, just like a lot of immigrants. If we come here, we work hard. We can make something happen for us, for the family, for the people around us. So that was the idea of coming to America.
Is that idea within a lot of people that live in Egypt and it's only a few that actually make the leap, or is that kind of unheard of?
It's a very good question. It's an idea of everybody in the world, not just Egypt. I met a lot of people. When I came on a culture exchange program. There was people from Netherlands, there's people from Japan, there's people from all around the world. They know that America, just know. You come here to America, you can work, you can get paid, you can live a good life, and we'll get into the good life, right? But you can make money, you can make something happen here. So that's why America attracts a lot of immigrants, because they know they can get reward for it. And you can use the same thing for the business. Now that I own a business, I think about that. I want to have great people on the team. They get to have something for them, or otherwise they won't come here.
Yeah.
So I'm a big, big believer in the American dream because, I'm living it. And this country, I've done a lot, so.
Was that a hard journey for you to get ultimately just become a citizen in the U.S.?
Yes, yeah. That was one of the toughest decisions. I mean, you got to think about it. I was 20 years old, little kid, from Egypt. Don't have anybody here, don't know anyone. Didn't know what to expect. I think that was the toughest. So I started from just washing dishes in
West Virginia?
Down south, Tennessee.
Yeah. That's how you know a guy's been around
Tennessee.
around the world when he can't remember where he
Can't
was.
even remember where it was. No, I know it ended with E, DC, Tennessee, or something like something rhymes, So it started with like working in a pizza shop in Tennessee, actually sleeping in this restaurant. I didn't have a place to sleep. The guy was like, "Hey, come here, get $400 a week and you'll make good money."
Mm-hmm.
Go there and there's no money, there's no place to sleep. But I still saw the light in this country. I knew, although I had like a good life in Egypt, what you would consider normal, there was still something bigger promise, and something I always believed in. People are willing to pay the price if they see the promise. And I saw the promise that America promises. So I was willing to sleep in the restaurant. I was willing to wash dishes to get to the promise that I wanted to.
Yeah, you're willing to do what it takes.
Because there's something at the end of that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the easiest journey. It went 7 years till I got my citizenship. So it took 7 years without seeing my family, without seeing my mom, without seeing my brother, my sister, my friends, So that was the toughest part of it.
So tell me about the moment, because I know that with you, there was a moment where you had a decision to make, right? That big decision, whether to go back or stay here. Like, kind of walk us through that a little bit.
So I came through a program where you can, you finish the program, you go back, but I've made the decision to stay then. I've seen what this country offers. And again, being 20 years old, you're not very equipped to make the best decision, but I'm thankful I made that decision, right? I was like, you know what? I want to stay. So I remember I called my mom and I was like, "Hey, I'm not coming back."
She was expecting you back?
Definitely she was. I didn't even say goodbye to my little brother and sister. I just was going to go for 3 months, 90 days.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Hey, I'm going to stay." And she was like, "When am I going to see you?" And I can't really tell you. I don't want to say, but hopefully soon. And soon was 7 years after. So that was a tough decision because I didn't know how things are going to work, right? I didn't know, I had all the will, but also there wasn't a whole lot of skill yet. You're 20 years old, I spoke English, so that helped, but there was still a heavier accent. There was still you don't know how the system works. It was very easy to be taken advantage of, So "Hey, come here, I'll give you that money." Sure. Let me just have a place to stay and food and I'm good,
You had this massive amount of uncertainty, right? And it's just you just had enough belief in you just to go for it. Right?
Yeah, just believe in the dream. Yeah. But one day I will make it. Maybe one day all this will come to fruition and I can go back and come back here. And looking at it now, I'm thankful and I'm blessed because I've done that. That was the journey.
What does so your family, your mom, your friends back at home, how do they kind of see you now, so many years down the road, different than at that point than when that happened?
Absolutely. I think you can see him as somebody that said I will do something and went out there and did it.
Yeah.
That has a toll on you and has a responsibility because you have a lot of people that were like, "Okay, I'm going to say I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." And actually they don't do it. You see people all the time, "I'm going to go do this." And then the moment you face a challenge, you're like, "Oh shit, let me just run back." So they're very proud. They're very, very proud. And my friends even are very proud and, going back and seeing everybody. And I'm worried about me. I'm extremely thankful. I'm proud of the journey and what I have became from this journey.
I mean, I'm sure when you go back, there's some type of walk that you have with you, a little bit of swagger that you probably didn't have when you left there when you were 20 years old, right? You're like,
absolutely, yeah. And they noticed it too. You were like, "Okay, you're so Americanized now," but to an extent, I'm still the kid from Egypt. You know what I mean? That grew up, with his friends in the streets of Cairo. Your brain thinks differently. You have change, which is a good thing that you change. We're supposed to change, but still the same guy, as if I've never left, especially with my family and everyone, but it's very fulfilling to go back and see that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have they have enormous respect for you. You have respect for yourself. You have the confidence, but I think ultimately it's important that you're grateful and thankful for everything that happened, right? That's the key. What's something that so you had this tough journey, you were sleeping at a pizza shop, you had this really hard decision, there was an enormous amount of uncertainty against you. What is something that you kind of carried with you on a daily basis right now in your business, in your life, that you kind of learned from that?
So nothing in life really comes easy, nothing worth coming. There's nothing that's really worth it that comes easy in life. And without stress, life is meaningless. You gotta go through the tough time. Maybe you didn't have to. There's some people that, weren't blessed, but they will see, especially as a man, you gotta go through some tough times and you gotta go through some, stress time and go through challenges to shape you to become a man. Well, that at that point, I didn't think that way, right? I was like, okay, why is this happening? But you have a belief in yourself and you have a dream. Like, you really, also the reason, why are you doing what you're doing? What's in it for you? The promise. There's so many things I kept thinking about that kept me going, kept me through this tough times, and just faith, just really faith and belief.
Yeah, and so the big things would be like just finding meaning in the suffering and the meaning in the hard times, but also realizing there's a huge why behind them.
Yeah, and I really believe for men to go through tough times, because like that saying, tough times make strong men makes good times makes weak men makes tough times, like creates tough times. So it's just so true, right? When everything is so easy, you're given everything, you have everything you want, you wake up, you sit on the couch, watch TV, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just what a way to live, What is life without like trying to make something happen? And, when you grow, you gotta go through the challenges. You gotta have risk. You gotta have some uncertainty, We're not born with catalogs, you just gotta go and try it out and see how things turn out.
I couldn't agree more. And I think after you go through something like that and you do it again and again and again, you start to recognize, like, you don't so much see it as painful or like a bad thing that you're going through stressful times or hard times. Sometimes, like, I feel like we start to crave it because at least I know I do. It's like, I know when I put myself in risky positions or uncomfortable positions, that's when I grow the most. And that's also when I reach higher levels. I hit bigger goals. Like for me personally, recently was jumping to a different brokerage, leaving the team, being an independent agent. I knew I had to do that for my own growth. And as stressful as it might be some days right now, because I don't have business coming to me like I had to before, I know that it puts me in a position to like grow as much as I can. And it's stressful and it's tough, but I know that's how I'm going to blossom and like be better. That's, way less difficult than coming to America and everything you did, but it's still kind of the same concept.
Yeah, you face it in so many things, in health and wealth and relationship. I mean, it's the same thing over and over and over. People wouldn't want to have that conversation with their employee or their spouse or whatever because it's tough. Again, going through the tough brings the best. Especially as a man, you gotta go through some tough times and understand it doesn't have to be so emotionally and physically. To become a strong man, you got to put yourself out there. It's super competitive out there. Think about it. Think of how competitive everything is. How many agents are in the city of Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
How many of them are chasing the same deals? How many contractors? How many investors? How many for a guy? We can keep counting the competition you go through every single day.
Right.
You might be very wealthy, but if you don't hit the gym, you're gonna be a weak dude. You have to figure out everything and go through pain and so many things to become the best you want to.
Definitely. Yeah, I remember when I was going to become an independent agent, something that my mom told me, she's like, there's so many agents in the city. Well, it's fine. I'm just going to work harder. And I'm going to endure, I'm going to do it one more than the other guy. I'm going to do it one more day than the other guy. And I'm going to endure that pain and stress and failure is more than the other guy. So that's kind of my mindset around it, at least. All right.
I can already see it, by the way.
What's that?
I've already seen it since you got. It's funny because Kareem actually just mentioned, it was like, what's going on with Matt? And I was like, yeah, I knew what was going on, but I was like, what's going on? He was like, man, Matt is just out there. Kareem doesn't usually say much, and he was like, Matt is just out there everywhere. I open Instagram, Matt is there. I open TikTok, Matt is there. And I was like, yeah, so that's good that you went through that.
Yeah, you gotta light a fire under your ass, man. It's like when you wake up every day and you don't have that fire under your ass and you're not motivated, you gotta put yourself in a position to be motivated and find that motivation. For me, it's putting myself in uncomfortable positions. I love the uncertainty. Like that kind of drives me every day.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to bring up too was like the jobs and everything that you had, like your AT&T job. I know you're killing at AT&T. What are like some of those like entrepreneurial skills that you gained from there? We could talk about your alias back in the day.
Tom Waite. That's what I'm laughing.
Hear that story.
You want the Tom Waite story.
Yeah. So what were the skills that you kind of gained from those jobs prior to going off into investing in your construction business?
Yeah, it's a great question. Corporate America in general, not just AT&T, whatever you work for corporate America, you'll gain some skills, a lot of skills. I've learned a lot from there. I also learned what not to do in your business and what to do. It was a great company to work for. I moved up so quick. I was in sales, finished the year, my first year, number one. I got big check. I got big checks I've never seen in my life.
Yeah.
like
You thought you made it, right?
that was
Or
the
you
dream.
did make it.
Like my first paycheck with commission was like $6,000. I've never had that much money.
Yeah.
Like I remember looking at that check and like, and every other rep was making like 2K. I was making like 3 times, what they're making. And that's every single month. I was selling for me and my store and a couple stores other, like just my numbers alone. And people were like, how's that guy doing that? But guess what? I took 0 vacations. It meant so much for me to see my name on number 1 on the whole AT&T region at that year, to finish the year number 1. I didn't take vacation. They were like, yeah, PTO, you can go home. And I was like, no. My day's off. I was like, if somebody calls off, let me know. But I just really wanted it that bad.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that how much when you want something that bad, it can happen for you. And I finished the year number 1, got promoted. And they start teaching you, they spend time developing you how to become a manager, how to become a leader, how to get people to buy in you. Because the hardest thing in business, you can do everything. You can do 17 million tasks yourself. But good luck trying to get people to do these tasks as good as you, while you're not there.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people struggle with. Okay, I'm great. I'm going to do all these things. But to get people to do these things, that requires a whole different skill.
That's true leadership.
Yeah, and I was great at sales, but now can I get a team to sell as I used to sell? Can I get them to follow a new process? That was different challenges. So I've learned a lot of things like that in AT&T. But at one point, I was like, man, this is just not for me, right? Climbing the corporate ladder, how people were on there, just wasn't for me. Because after that, it doesn't become the best man wins. It becomes political, different things, and diversity and all that stuff is like, okay, we have to think about how many females on the team, how many people of color on the teams. A lot of corporates does that stuff without getting into the weeds, and other stuff too, who you know plays a big thing, and to keep climbing up and up and up. But I appreciate the company. I've learned a lot from it, but it just wasn't for me anymore. So learned a lot of things for sure from there.
It sounds like though, so what you pulled from it when like AT&T, for example, was not only to kill it in sales, but to get people to follow you. And
That was the
not
best.
allow them to lead you, right? And that's what you carried over to your construction business, right?
Yes, a friend of mine, Michael Oliveira, his name, he was one of the managers as well. He used to say, the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack, or the speed of the pack is the speed of the leader. Like how fast the pack can go depends on the leader. If you move quick, if you get on top of things and delegate good, the whole team will move good, So it just plays a big role, And I found out it wasn't too hard to beat these people, to be honest with you. That's another thing I realized. You just have to work. It's so simple. It was so crazy how many people wouldn't want to show off. Like they're there, a customer comes in, it's another customer. They won't even offer the same.
Right.
How did I get so good? I just offered to everybody.
Yeah. It's
no magic. Did what I'm supposed to. It's literally common sense. It's like, hey, you want to get this? This is a better deal. And guess what? Most people, I literally got them a better deal than what they had. So just learn that. Have people willing to do the stuff that they wouldn't necessarily do. So it's a lot of things there for sure. And I loved it. I never thought I would.
Yeah.
I used to say I would bleed blue.
Well, a lot of people would get super comfortable in that position, especially thinking back where you came from and then where you were. That it would have been very easy for you to just stay there and collect those checks
and keep climbing.
And climbing the ladder. Yeah.
My next move would have been a director.
Do you think the biggest thing that drove you to quit and move on was the freedom of it?
So I understood things differently. I waited so long to become an American citizen. I thought that is it, right? And that will be a little bit broad. I was like, you know what? Once I get my citizenship, man, I've made it. I got that citizenship and I was like, I haven't made it. I got an expensive car to pay. I get a job. I'm making money, but I'm not keeping any of it, which is how a lot of people live.
You're spending it.
I'm spending it. And then I was like, okay, I want to go back home. I want to go see my family. They're like, well, you have PTO. I was like, what do you mean I got PTO? I haven't seen my family in 7 years. Okay, you got 2-3 weeks. I was like, I want 2-3 months. And they were very helpful for me to go see my family. They were like, we understand, but we need you back. You have a job to do. And I was like, doesn't sound like, I don't like that. If I want to go, I want to go.
Right.
Don't tell me no. But I was still so young, not very financially educated, how things work. I came from a family of just a very normal family. Nothing was no entrepreneurs, it's too risky. You get a job, you get a good job, you stay to the job, you retire. That was just what no one, and everybody around me, my circle, was no entrepreneurs. So it was just you sounded too crazy. What you mean you're going to go crush? I had a couple good friends. Bill was one of them. He's like, bro, your place is not here. You're way bigger than that. But for you to believe that, just so new, what is on the other side? After, okay, I've made it. I'm getting paid like a great paycheck, great salary, benefits. I got a car, I got a phone, I set my own schedule. It's the dream job. Perfect on papers. I'm the area manager, and now you're not happy. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Now you want to throw all this away and start it all over again where you know nothing, like as if you just arrived from Egypt. I'm glad I did that. You know, my life is totally different since I joined and moved to real estate. Like a whole better, different life. I'm making way more money than.
Yeah, you're still working hard and long hours, but you have the freedom, right, to do whatever you want, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I've been going to Egypt, 3-4 times a year, 3 times a year. Nobody tells me what to do. If I want to come to a podcast, I hate that. You can't, how can you just have somebody tell you what to do all the time? You know, you got to own your thing. And in America, it's not that hard. You would really be surprised when you start a business and you put the work in, how quickly you can transition, not just real estate, not just construction, whatever you do. It doesn't really take that much time to start making money more than you are getting on a job. Just, you got to be confident and committed to do it.
Yeah, I think take the risk, take the leap, and just don't quit.
Yep.
Right.
And I waited so long, though. I was doing AT&T, I was doing the construction, I was buying my own real estate, I was managing my own properties, and I haven't left. Remember, we left I left, and then 1 week after.
And as soon as I saw Omar leave, I knew it. Yeah, I think it was a
done.
week, man.
It was literally 1 week.
Because it was on my mind the whole time. And that's what the great thing is about that, having good friends in your circle, right? You kind of inspired me. You made me believe that I can do it at that point. It's like Omar did it. Like, we're
like
close
to friends would have done it, and you were like, it's time.
Yeah,
1 week. So I should have done it earlier, but I just said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna give it some time, see how things go. It's like still too risky, and then it came.
So yeah, now you got this construction business. That's your main focus as far as real estate goes right now. How many years have you been running the construction business?
So I started, my very first experience with construction was 2020. Like we're going 5 years now.
Wow, yeah, time flies. Yeah, I remember when you first started.
The company went official and everything in like 2022. Like those 2 years, I was just doing like the smaller projects here and there for a couple of years. You know, took some houses, but not like to the scale we're doing right now.
What made you what drew you toward wanting to work specifically with investors? Because that's how you started, right? And that's how you're still kind of going. Like, what made you go that route?
Barely get any residential jobs. It's all investors. It's funny enough, it's like just my circle. I was never thinking I'm going to become a GC, right? Like Mr. Property Remodeling, that was never a thing. Got in real estate, I just want to acquire more rentals and let's do deals, right? But then what's the toughest thing in construction? It's the renovation. It was so hard. Like my first few deals, dude, like it was tough to get through because of.
You mean the toughest thing about investing in general would be
definitely the renovation. The renovation, figure out the renovation, making sure you're good in scope, making sure you understand what's going on, making sure there's a good contractor that comes in, does the work, get paid, does it good, on time, up to, quality. And that was just tough for me to find in the beginning. Couple people here. And it's still tough. It's still an opportunity, And I bought my first couple properties to renovate that I found through like wholesaling. And I was like, I'm keeping these ones. First one, contractor comes in, cut the tree, falls down on the roof, big hole in the roof. He never shows up again.
I actually never heard that. That's
Slim's favorite. First day on the job, I'm standing there. I still have it on a video.
Yeah.
I'm standing there recording. And I was like, dude, be careful. I was like, oh, don't worry, man. We just cut it here. And I was like, all right, let's go, And he comes in, he cuts the tree. And I see the tree on the roof, big hole. And I was like, dude, you got insurance? He was like, nah. I was like, so what do we do now? We was like, I don't know. And I was like, you don't know? We're fixing this roof. Anyway, and I was like, okay, that was just one of so many. People just don't know, They don't have a business. There's no, very few contractors I've met that actually have a real business, real system, real... and my mind started, I was like, oh my God, I could just do that. So then I started just hiring my own crews, working and getting into it. And I was really sticking to it. Like, hey, what is that? What is that? What is that? Start learning everything. And then it happens because of our circle, our Broke2Fi. And
you knew investors. That's what you're around. You were trying to invest yourself.
All my friends were investors.
You're a salesman, and that's what you do. So
yeah. And we still provide a pretty good service, right? We send updates. We're on time all the time. We're quick. We do good work. So I knew what people need as investors, and I know I can deliver that.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of what drew you toward investors. What is because you have the investors, you have the residential side. What do you see as the biggest challenge with working with investors?
So the biggest challenge is just investor to know. A lot of times we get these people that have bought their first deal. They have no idea, and they just think, they don't really understand the construction still, or
It's the hardest part to understand. And there's least amount of information out there on it.
yeah.
Like,
So they would just come in and like, hey, like I thought this would cost $20K to just like, do drywall, do HVAC, do plumbing, do electric, put a new roof on, and then they get to break it in, no, it costs more, or then how it works and walk them through this process, So that takes sometimes, like, this is the toughest part when they don't understand. So what I do to that is like, I explain it all in the beginning. But I love working with investors. I don't think we're going to change the niche. We get some job here and there from residential, but we like to focus on what we have. We only work with investors. I understand the hard money draws, I understand the inspection, I understand if you want to flip it, I understand the areas, understand the comps, understand you need to make money. Why would we change that, right? We're doing more of what we know the best, which is real estate investments and renovation. And then we grew eventually for focusing on that.
I have a lot of follow-up questions on this.
Sure.
But as far as the residential clients go, you don't see yourself shifting into that space for what reason? Just because you want to stick to what you're doing right now and be the best at it?
Yeah, I've learned that. Like, I looked into it, right? Because everybody's like, hey, you'll make so much more money. I still believe it's a whole new, different avenue of business. And that's one mistake a lot of entrepreneurs do is like, what else can I do? Right? I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. Yes, you can, but everything you start is a whole new business you're setting, and it takes time. We're so good at what we're doing right now, I can just grow this. So I focused on growing this. Let's bring on more investors, let's bring on more crews, and let's just grow what we have right now.
Right, understood. Yeah. So it sounds like the biggest challenge you have with investors is more so the newer ones. Is that kind of right? Where they don't know the process, they don't know how much things cost. Is that what you would say?
Absolutely, and just how the process worked, like everything. That was one of the challenges that we face, and we try to now, especially in the beginning, right? Because we were just like accepting any client, like, hey, sure, come on, let's help you. Now we're just like, hey, let's take a look. Let's make sure we're a good fit to work together, because everything is, time is important, and we want to make sure they make money at the end. I like to do deals where it's win-win, not just us. And a lot of people are like, hey, your prices are not extremely high, but I want people to make money, right? Like they buy. And we have so many repeated clients because we charge good prices. They sell the house, they make money, or the rental, they come back again, and we keep moving, right? We both grow.
Yeah, and it's probably a big challenge there too. Is like when we come in and we're doing a flip or something, we have this box that we needed to fit in. Yep. We needed to fit in this $80,000 box, and it's
do it for 80, and sometimes it costs more than 80. And sometimes you just gotta know your business. And I'm very blessed with a great team that we all have the same vision. Like, let's make this happen for the client. Give the best product, and our reputation is important. That helps.
Yeah. What's something that you feel like investors, like especially the newer ones, maybe that they don't understand about contractors? Like, what's something that they maybe come in and assume that maybe you would want them to understand about working with a contractor?
Again, every contractor is different. For me, I'll speak about me specifically. It's a lot of times people are just, super worried, which is okay. I get it, right? But understand how the system works. Like, okay, as an example, we start with the demo. We get permits. Start with the demo. After the demo, there's framing. Kind of get some idea of what's going on, which we do throughout the updates. But also understand the numbers, dude. Like the numbers. Like we keep saying, hey, can we do this cheaper? You can do things cheaper, and there's some things you cannot do cheaper. Yes, at the finishes, you can go cheaper if you want to, but there's something that just costs what it costs. You get a pull permits, you get a rough in, all plumbing, rough in, all electric. Those things you do not want to do cheaper. You do not want to do cheaper. You want to do it good, because that's
right. Yeah.
There's a lot of issues with that. And so there's a lot of things and we don't get a lot of investors like that anymore. Like we have a lot of great clients, and now that understands the business, and it's so much easier to work with. But again, if somebody's very new, they don't understand how the process works, and it's just very stressful for them. And we do a lot of hand holding throughout the process, which we still love to do, but it's just tougher because it's the first time they hear about these things, Yeah. Or, oh, I thought the roof was good, now it's leaking. Did you do an inspection? Reach out to Robbie. Robbie will hook you up. No, we didn't do that. We bought it from, the wholesaler told me these are the things that are tough. I was like, so I'm not Superman. I can't do what the wholesaler have told you. Maybe go back to the wholesaler and have him fix it for that much, right? These are the tough parts. Now we have to to do the roof. Like, I don't have any more money. These are the tough parts. And again, thankfully, we don't face a lot of these, but it still happens. Or the worst part is coming after somebody else that has started the work and messed it all up. And we've done a lot of these. And now we're very picky if we take one on like that. Because again, you have to bring the bad news. Listen, they just did that, and here's the options.
So when you're bringing up, like, I send you a client, right?
Yes.
They're brand new. They just bought a flip.
Yes.
What is something, like, if you could tell them prior to reaching out to you or to make the process easier, what is something that they can do to make it easier, the most beneficial thing they can start to do to start the job and start to work with you?
Know what you want.
Know what you want.
You know, like, what do you want to do with the house?
This is what I tell every client. Yeah.
What do you want to paint? Do you want to, like, you know, when you send me a house and be like, Omar, this is a flip. Sure, I will do it as Omar standard. Before we go there, like, what do you want to do with the house? Have an idea, and then be open to ideas from you and ideas from me, because we've been doing it, right? Especially if it's your first one. Don't come in there and be like, well, we're gonna do it all for $60K, you know, and then you don't live in the area. You know, maybe you're in Canada or somewhere, right? And you think it's $60K is gonna do it all. Is gonna do it all, and then give me a whole scope, like, of things that you would like to do that you have no idea what, or, you know, not knowing what to do. It just, this will cost $60K, or we've seen some stuff like that. Just be open to ideas. Like, we are willing to help you to get you to that, what you want to do, and spend that much. We think we can do it for 60, then you need to add a bathroom, you know, like, you can't have, like, in this area, you know, just one bathroom on the first, one half bath on the first floor, or bathroom in the basement is going to count as a bathroom. Like, we live here, we know, take the feedback, work with us, take Matthew's ideas, my ideas in consideration, and just have an idea what you want to do with the house. Don't just send us there to take a look.
I literally say the same thing. And I've realized that over the experience, over the years of experience, like, that's what they need to do. Before I ever send anybody to you anymore, or any contractor, like, listen, you can't, it's not like ordering, or it's not like you just give them the house and say, hey, or finish this house, make it look pretty. That's not how it works. I kind of use the comparison to, like, a menu. When you go to a restaurant, you're like, I want this, I want that, I want this. That's what they're kind of doing. It's, you know, more dynamic and a little bit more complicated, but they need to tell you what they want done. And I feel like sometimes I tell them, like, hey, your number one job right now is to pull a scope of work together. And I feel like some people, like, have never heard of that.
Yeah, they don't know. Seasoned investors would know.
No, they're
like, hey, this is just a flip. We're going to do, you know, cosmetic. It doesn't need anything. Not opening walls, not adding bathrooms. Let's do this. Or, hey, let's meet there because there's so much I want to do and I want to explain it to you. Now, somebody new, they have no idea what the house needs. I was there, which was okay. We can work with you, but be receptive. So I got a couple of clients just recently. They reached out. We go there. They were like, hey, I got everything. I bought the house from a wholesaler, and I have $40,000 to fix the house. House in Mount Oliver, right? It's like vacant for 20 years. And there is, like, wallpaper everywhere. The roof needs change. Siding's falling down. HVAC needs change. You know, want to add a bathroom. And they want, like, luxury finishes in Mount Oliver. And I was like, listen, first of all, you do not, what is this? They were like, it's a rental. I was like, okay, Section 8 rental. And I was like, great. Like, we can definitely make this work. However, you do not need luxury finishes for a Section 8 rental. And there's no way to do it for this price. Right? So what I'm saying is, like, if you know what you want, just compare. Open, ask. It's okay. We work with a lot of first time. We have a process for them. Somebody comes and say, hey, Omar, I want to get into real estate. Like, just had one that came from New York, right? The client, I introduced you to her. And she just doesn't know a lot, you know? Like, it's her first time.
Yeah.
And we can help you learn because we've done so many of them. Like, hey, this is a good one you can buy. You need to do this. We'll sell. We'll make money. We'll give you this. And a lot of people listen, and sometimes people just, like, no, I want you on bigger pockets. Yeah. Well, the bigger pockets calculators say that when you don't make any money, go back to bigger pockets.
I think I do have a hard time with that too. For me, it's like everybody just wants to look at the numbers. Like, the numbers are numbers. And I feel like it's a lot more than that. Especially, especially like you're trying to fit into this formula, and that's great and all, but you have to understand other parts of it, especially construction, right? Yeah. You have to have at least, like, a basic understanding of construction. Like, we're here to help, but it's kind of your job as the investor, or when you're coming in, is that you're the one that's kind of choosing these things and making those decisions, right?
Yes.
So I think we would both equally say the number one thing to do before, actually, when you have the house under contract, before demo day especially, is to get a scope of work together. I think if right after you leave the house, before you can put an offer on, you should probably have a high level scope of work together. Yeah. Just that high level.
And if you don't know, we can do it for you. Like, hey,
we can help.
This is what the house, I don't even mind doing it for. Like,
Right.
hey, if you don't have no clue, this is your first, and you want to invest in Pittsburgh, and we find a property, reach out. We'll go there. We'll draw a scope. We'll send it to you. We'll say, hey, this house needs this. With that much, here's your scope, and then here's how much it will cost to get this house to that. And then you can do this stuff. But just don't come in and you don't know with a budget in mind, wanting so much to do or not knowing what it is to do. Like, don't put a number till you know the scope. Pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
So that's something that I feel like a lot of investors and especially flippers screw up prior to like starting a project. What is something that you see that they mess up during the rehab project? Like something that you're repeatedly seeing, like somebody, a client's not doing, something they can do better at during the rehab project.
It's sometimes, I mean, we really have great clients. But one thing I see is people getting too attached to this house. Thinking
Emotionally
you're there to
attached?
make money. Yeah, you're there to make money. They sometimes pull the wrong decisions. Like, hey, let's change the stairs so the house is not. When you walk in the house, the stairs are not in front of you. We need the stairs to be in the back. I was like, but have you looked at all the stairs in this street? It's just normal. It's normal to have stairs when you open the door. Like it's not in the way. It's on the left. That's okay. So sometimes they're like, especially if they're not from Pittsburgh and not understanding, they can get to like thinking, I want it to be like my house, right? Like, let's make sure, instead of thinking, okay, you're really focusing on numbers, let's focus on numbers. Get to the finish line. Don't get too caught up in the nitty and gritty, like, okay, let's see, but there's that, but there's this, but there's that. But if we, and this is still Pittsburgh, this is not, the Hamilton, like this is Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Like, again, you can get and I've seen people go quick, right? And make money and keep going. So just the getting too caught up in a few things, I think focusing on the scope is great and not trying to change so much of the plans because that's tough. When you change plans, it can put the project
Well, that
back.
goes back to having a agreed upon scope of work before you finish. Before you even start the
Exactly,
job.
right.
I think that's just huge.
Usually they also happen with few, like people who've done it for so many, they understand I'm here to make money and I want them to make money. So they're like, this is a flip. I'm not going to live here, right? I don't need a window in the basement. So, when I'm, taking my whatever, putting laundry, I could just slash the window and sit down. Like something like this, or have a pool in Mount Oliver, like sometimes we get these people, remember? Like, want to have a hot tub. Why you want to have a hot tub in Carrick? Like stuff like that. It's like, you do not need a hot tub in Carrick. And we're trying to save you money.
What was the thing that they wanted to add in the backyard?
Shower.
There's like something in the backyard, like wood structure that goes.
Oh, the bungalow, something.
Yeah.
Like in the backyard. Where's that? That was like North Side or something like.
Yeah. What about like past clients, like during a rehab project, like horror story? Do you have any like one that like really?
What about positive stories first? You know what I mean? I feel like let's go something positive and then we can jump back into like the bad. Just not.
I guess what I'm trying to do is just help people to learn.
Yes, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like how they can do better, especially when they're jumping into doing this. There's a lot of things that are going to scare them.
Yes.
So it's just like, what can they avoid? That's what I'm trying to hit on.
Hiring the wrong contractor, that's also a very bad one. Like we've seen some stuff that's just bad, and usually people call us like, hey, come save the day. And we've done it. We've saved the day, helped a few people out. But, like some people just like not understanding, jumping too quick to like, just take your time, understand, reach out,
A little bit of patience
understand.
involved, yeah.
But there's some horror stories for sure. There's some people that bought a house and they just jumped in and got so many. It's actually not one house, like a lot of houses. And most of them were in deals, right? And because not every house is a deal, right? You can buy so many houses, but that doesn't mean they're deals.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a long time sometimes to find
A good
deals,
deal, right?
Yeah,
Especially where you're at. You might be like, okay, willing to take a risk. Everybody's different. And then a lot of them had like stuff like without a scope, right? They had like the sewer is bad, they never checked, right? So that's a 10K or fix or a 7K fix or stuff like that. But now for us, it just we're so used to it, like nothing is really becoming a horror story anymore.
You've seen it repeat. Well, it sounds like it's the same couple things. It's like one, they'll hire the wrong contractor and they bring you on to fix the job, right?
Yeah.
Or two, they just bought a terrible property and they moved too quickly. And I've seen that with clients too. A lot of times it's a case of I was working with them and they went and found some deal on their own, wholesaler or whatever it be, and then they just bought it, didn't ask me to even look at it, which I would do for free. And then after they purchase it, I'll show up and they ask me to like tell me how much they think they could sell for, and I walk it, and I'm excited before I get there, and then I get there, and I'm like, how much did you pay for this? And they tell me, and I realize they just totally screwed up. They overpaid for it. It's a terrible property. The layout's bad. It's just like, I think for me, the biggest thing is use your team. You have all these people in place that tell you like it's a good deal, and make sure you trust them, of course. Like trust whoever you're
Yeah,
with.
get referrals, ask around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resources where you can find who you can trust.
But use them. Don't go and just buy some random property from a wholesaler that you don't know, that you don't trust. They're salesmen. They're trying to sell you a house so they can make money. They're not looking out for you.
There's a lot of sharks in this field. Like there's a lot of people, and you gotta be smart. You gotta be smart. You gotta know, okay, what does this make sense or not? Like, okay, you gotta take risk. I'm not saying just be like, 6 years you haven't bought a property, you're just jumping from a seminar to a seminar to a seminar. It's not, like
You don't want to become an information junkie.
exactly. It's not science, it's not like massive. You just buy a house, the renovation, you reach out to, a contractor, a reputable contractor, you reach out to an agent that's good, that can tell you the comps, you can see the renovation, you make sure both of them are trustworthy, and it makes sense, you go with it.
Yeah, and I think for me and you too, specifically, like where we make our money at, and where like my incentive is, like as an agent, you go and buy $100,000 flip property. What I make is when you keep doing it, when
Yes.
you're a repeat buyer. So I'm looking out for you to make sure you're not buying a crap property, because I want you to do it again. I don't want you to buy a property and
it doesn't
it's
sell.
terrible, it doesn't sell, and you're stuck and you lose money. I'll never hear from you again. You'll either never do real estate again, or you'll go work with another agent. You know what I mean? So that is not my incentive. And I know that's the same for you too. You want good repeat clients to continue to do projects, because in the investor world, that's what we're into.
Plus, also, I don't make money till I actually finish the project. If you think about it, because we don't take money up front.
Yeah.
Very rarely, if we're doing so many houses and I'm putting my money. You buy a house, I'm starting the demo, I'm starting the roof, right? They're done, I pull a draw. Now I take that money from you. I put it for the next plumbing, electric, windows, HVAC. They're done, you pull a draw, put it next.
Yeah.
Painting, flooring, drywall, kitchen, I get it done. You pay me, I go next. Exterior, so I don't get done till I'm done, right? And that's how we have our businesses made. But we want you to succeed, right? We don't want you to not succeed. So use your resources is a very good one.
Yeah.
But like a lot of horror stories from bad purchases, I think you make the deal the day you close. We always say,
You make your money. when
you
you
know,
buy it.
there's rooms, right? Like just your last project, you bought it very good, that duplex, right? Like you just cleaned it out and you're like, I'll put it back on the market.
Yeah, it was a good buy.
It's a great buy.
I
I
knew
love
there was
it.
multiple ways.
Beside the
to
dead
make
deer
money.
and
Yeah.
beside the dead deer, it was a very good house. So
Bought an off-market property, and there's a 3-car garage, and we went to go clean out the garage, and we opened the door, and there was a dead deer, a full-size dead deer on a dresser in the back. So yeah, it didn't smell too good. So sticking with the renovations though, just to kind of help people, what are like what do you feel are the biggest bang for their buck, or like the most return for renovations? Like we'll say for cash flow, or for like a return on a flip. Like you don't want to do certain things. Maybe you don't need to finish the basement, but what are those big things that you really feel like people need to put their money towards?
bathrooms and kitchens.
Yeah.
Always, right? That's a lot of things that we focus on. And actually the best things we do is our bathroom and kitchens. We do really well with these because we have trained the team. Like we've trained them to be like, do everything great, but bathroom and kitchen, take your time as much as you can. Let's make sure that's what sells the house.
The tile work. And
The
everything.
tile work, has the matching, the colors. We have a designer on the team, right? If you're flipping, we bring the designer in. It's not an option. We gotta have the designer there because we want to make sure the colors match, the color scheme, how everything turn. And we're gonna post videos of the most recent big flips we're doing. They look absolutely amazing. So these things you gotta go through, right? Color scheme, how you feel when you walk in the house, the layout, the design, where the master goes. A lot of stuff like that makes different, but definitely bathroom, kitchen, and curb appeal will be the third one, of course. Like you gotta, because that's the first thing people are gonna see.
Yeah, that's what gets the traffic in. That's what gets them in the house. That's what
looks
gets them
good.
interested.
It feels home, And I also suggest a lot of people to do staging as well too. I think staging does
When you're
help.
gonna
And I
sell
think,
it.
yeah, when you go for flips, from cash flow, you gotta. It's still competitive. There's rentals there. There's people. I think bedrooms, numbers of bedrooms doesn't matter. You gotta be in a good area. Not too many, not too low. Like I personally prefer 3 3 to 4.
Yeah.
You know, not less than that. But I've done a couple twos, and
It depends on the
they
area.
catch flow pretty good. You have a
Especially-
couple twos too that they do pretty well.
Especially in like a nicer area, 2 bedrooms. So
Yeah. So that's what we'll do, and then just make it. I do my rentals as flips, right? It will go in. Yes, I want to live there. Feels good, especially if I'm doing the work. But really, not much different. If you're doing the bathroom, it's worth it to put extra grand or 1,500 to just tile the shower, right? Like it makes absolute difference in tiles around. Unless you're in an area that it's just not going to make any sense. I still personally do it. I always tile my showers. These few things like that. Bathrooms again and kitchen is very similar.
That actually brings me to my next question was, so between flips and buy and holds, like I know there's this big perception out there that like if you're doing a rental, you can skip so many things, and on a flip, you have to do the whole shebang. Like, do you think like there's a big difference there, or do you think they're very similar?
There's not that really whole big difference. The only difference is in the finishes, pretty much, right? Like, okay, it's a rental. That's the only difference. We go for durability in rentals, right? Something that can
Maintenance free.
maintenance, like a lot of flippers sometimes like to put carpet second, third, or to the attic, we'll go carpet. Rentals, I personally don't prefer it, right? It's a rental. The tenant might go out, they're gonna spill stuff. People, they might have kids, there's dogs. So these things that make the biggest difference. But if you're maybe you want the smooth finish on the drywall. For rental, he really cares what the walls look like. We actually have done flips that sold for over 400, 500, and they had texture walls. So there's sometimes you can get so picky, but rental, that's the difference. The scope is a little bit different, but if you want to cash flow it higher, you gotta do it almost as a flip. The only difference is just these things, the flooring, paint colors. You don't need a designer really. Just a few things like that. You don't need to do it as like you're flipping because like the designer, the corporate bill doesn't have to be great. Still gotta look nice, but not crazy. And there's a few things you could skip. As an example, if I have a rental and the roof might need to be changed a little sooner, it's not leaking, I'll keep it. If that bad boy leaks, then we can talk. I've done that.
Yeah.
But in a flip, you're not gonna sell the house because there's an inspection that's gonna come in and be like that roof is bad. So you gotta do the roof, the windows. You gotta be able to like use them. Like. A lot of things on flip are different just because there's somebody who's going to do inspection. They're going to inspect the roof. HVAC is old. They're going to tell you to change it. Rental, it works. It kicks. Keep it kicking.
There's so many things to unpack, honestly, the difference. So for us, I know personally, like for our rentals that we have, we always try to make them nice. We spend the extra money, and I know it's worth it. It feels worth it. I know you're not like getting that immediate return, but the demand on them when you list them is amazing. Nice, and we do cool designs and things like that. We're getting so many people in the door, they're fighting for the apartment, right?
And they're paying more. They're willing to pay
They're willing to pay more. You can hike up the rates. So, like on the rental rates, especially in a nicer area, if you make it nice, people will be willing to pay more for a nicer place. There's no ceiling on that sometimes. I mean, you can raise those pretty
You can put your own price on the market decide. I had one that everybody was like, oh, you're going to get $1,500 for that. I'm renting it for $1,950. $450 more a month. But why? Everything was brand new. Everything was nice. It is a nice rental. So people are willing to pay for it because it's just, it's a nice house,
Yeah, correct. Yep. And I think also so we were talking about the design. I think that's huge too when you're talking about flips. That goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's not all about numbers. And the design is a big part of that I think people don't think about, especially on the flips. Like you bringing your designer onto the team is huge because that's like one thing that you're giving to somebody else, you're dealing, and it's well worth the money because at the end of the day, especially in this market, the flips or the design is what's selling the flips, right? Yes. So you got to focus on that. You got to make it nice. You can't do the white and gray anymore. It's not going to sell.
How many houses you go to and they look the same? Subway tile, right? White shaker cabinets, black fixture, gray, white trim, black doors. It's all like that, right? Like now when you bring the designer, you start seeing that color pop, right? Like there's somebody that went to school, studied that is doing this. Plus on me. Perfect. I don't have to worry anymore. Hey, what tile? The customer doesn't know, right? A lot of them, they don't know. Think about like Scott. Scott was like, hey, what we're doing here, we're just a bunch of dudes. Like, let's bring somebody. And I was like, yeah, Scott, we don't need that. Let's bring somebody that can tell us, that has that eye, and then we can take it from
It's
there.
so nice not to worry about it.
And it looks so much better, so it's worth it to pay. But sometimes people are like, you can't just go into it thinking, let me save. Sometimes you get, that nice houses, especially people want to save and the house will sell and list it overpriced.
If you make it nice.
You got to make it nice to get people to fight for it and really want it. So
Yeah, and I know how important it is too, because when we post like videos of our flips and everything that you've done, my aunt Sam, our business
Yeah.
partner, does a design on them. I have people DMing constantly, hey, who's your designer? Can I use her? And things like that. I know it's such a big need out there, especially again for the flips. I think it's super important.
yes,
So don't overthink that and give it some thought. I think really that's what people want to see when they're walking through the house is somebody gave an ounce of thought out of it. Like,
paint, new flooring done.
yeah, that's it. So for timeline on like these flips, that's a big question that I get a lot. Someone's like, how long is this going to take to get done? Like historically, like from your experience, what have you seen like a 50K cosmetic renovation takes? How long compared to like your 190 to 100K full gut type of renovation?
Right. That's a good question. So, okay, that's a pretty quick renovation. I would say a month, because like literally you're thinking 50K, like month and a half. What you're doing, bathroom, kitchen, and maybe paint, flooring.
Yeah.
Right. That will get you like very cosmetic.
Some people think
50K will get you the whole house. It depends who you're talking to. It literally can get you kitchen, bathroom, flooring, some repairs, maybe HVAC. It's not going to get you the whole house. Depends on what the scope is. But 50K, I would say a month and a half. Even if it's flooring, I can do flooring, bathroom, kitchen, windows, paint, all that in a month and a half. We're pretty quick, right? Month and a half, we're done. We're in and out. With like the 50K renovation, maximum month and a half.
So call it 1 to 2 months.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah.
Now, when you go to 100K, I would just add another month in there, 2 months, right? 2 months to month and a half. Now, when you go above the 150K, those are like the bigger ones where you gotta do like a lot of the mechanicals has to be redone. You gotta rough in, you gotta get an inspection, and things has to go in order. You gotta get the framing first. Once you're done with the framing, you gotta get the city to inspect it. Once you're done with the inspection, now you can, and before they even come for the framing, you gotta have your plumbing rough in is done and inspected. You gotta have your electric rough in and inspected. You gotta have the ductwork rough in and inspected. And all these inspectors are separate. So things tend to take a little bit longer when you go into inspection.
Because of the inspections.
The inspection, and you have to do things in order. There's no way you're going to close the walls till you get all these done, or they're going to tell you to take the walls down, right? So things has to be done in order, and inspection has to be done, and then draws too, right? I mean, you can move faster if you put some money up front. That's where things come different, which we're doing in renovation right now, the very big one, like the one we did the video on. This one I told Scott is going to take probably close to a year.
Yeah,
I mean that's a huge one.
This is a huge project.
It's like 4,000 square feet that needs everything, right? Like the drywall by itself has been like we've been a month just on the drywall, right, to finish and sand. Like it depends on the project or where you're at, but I would say usually 3 to 4 months. The average house, Lawrenceville house, like the ones we do, something bigger than that, about 4,000 square feet, that could take 6 months to a year, depending on what it needs, right? Especially with inspections and permits and everything.
Okay, so your cosmetic 50K, 1 to 2 months. The next level up, which is the typical amount on the rehab, I see at least especially for flips, is like 80 to 100K. You're probably expecting like 4 to 5 months. You think?
No, 3. We don't,
3 to 4
the regular ones, like I would say more of 120 to 140.
That's when it goes over.
Yeah, the 120 to 140 is like is the from 80 to 120. As an example, this is 3 months. Once you go above the 120 to the 140, 150s, you need a lot of rough ends, you need roof, you need windows, you gotta order the windows, they take a couple weeks. It just things take like 3 to 4 months. You don't cross 3 to 4 months with us, you don't go to the 6 month unless it's a huge project.
Okay.
So 3 to 4 months is a pretty for our crew.
Yeah.
To get it done in 3 to 4
You don't know about those other crews.
I don't know the other crews what they do. We know 3 to 4 months. We have we've done so many of them. You get the keys back.
For permits and inspections, how do you guys manage those personally? Like how has it been? So the projects I've done to this point, I haven't had to pull permits yet because I haven't done a huge project like that.
Hopefully the city shows up.
Yeah. But how have you guys been managing that, and how can you prepare a client for that too? What are the expectations that you set?
So we usually tell them about the timeline, that things has to be done in order. Because a lot of times clients will get excited. Hey, what's going on? Can we get order the tile? I was like, no, we can't order the tile. We haven't finished the plumbing roofing yet. So we just explain the things very slowly, how things has to go in order. And then the other thing, why we're really good, we've been around for a while. I know all the inspectors. I have their personal cell phones. So we can handle things pretty well. I just called today, a client reached out. He wants us to do one part of a project for him, but there's another contractor there that he's not comfortable doing, taking down a wall. It's a pretty big company too, but they just don't want to take down the wall and put the LVLs, do an open concept. It's just hey, we don't do these a whole lot. But so the client reached out to us. They're like, can you do it? So I called him and I was like, where are you going with the permits? Because we need to pull a permit. This is in Lawrenceville. And he was like, well, we have an issue with the permit. The city's giving us a hard time. And I was like, who's your inspector? He's like, this. I was like, perfect. I'll call you right back. Just pull out, call the inspector. I was like, hey, what's going on, Omar? And I was like, hey, you're the inspector for this property. Here's what's going on. I need to get I need to take down this wall. They don't have a permit for it. And he was like, do what you got to do. I got you. Done. Right. Tomorrow we're sending the guy, he's getting it done. He's going to come inspect it, takes care of it. So a lot of times you got to build good reputation, good relationship with people. So that helps out a lot. But we prepare the clients for these things, right? And sometimes inspectors, like we just had one, West Wilkinsburg. Yeah, definitely. She came in, the inspector. We also know her very well, and then she was just nervous. The house,
Needed a lot of work.
Yeah, but the house is it's a big project. The house has a lot of foundation issues. We bring the engineer. The structure engineer's been here. Here's the report. Stamped. Everything is good. We know how to make things comfortable, but the client has no idea. They're like, what's going on? I was like, we can't do anything till the engineer comes because the code enforcement is worried. But don't worry, whatever is coming, the engineer came, it's a few small stuff, changing posts in the basement. Done. So we want the clients, and sometimes they're nervous because, like, as an example, this client, that's her first one. She's in California.
She's never heard of these things.
Never heard anything. And she trusts us to take care of these things. And she was like, oh, sorry, I didn't know you guys have to replace the whole deck outside. I said, don't worry about it. You're not being charged more. She was like, oh, thank you, you're the best. But like, you gotta be able to communicate with the clients and with the inspection and the code enforcement, and we know how to do the work, so just come take a look, just don't make me do bullshit. That's my rule. They have tried, I'll tell you.
You gotta push back a little bit.
Oh, push back. I was like, I'm not doing that. Like we've crossed some line. You've seen me, if they come in and tell you like, hey, like do this or do that where you're not supposed to, I'll fight them for my clients. I was like, show me where it says I have to do that. Right? Like I'm not doing that. Give me a supervisor. I'm doing this, and that. And then they start like, hey, they work with you as well.
Right. So if somebody's coming in, they don't know much about the permits and the process and everything. It's more so Omar's taking care of it. He has relationships with the inspectors. It's going to take a little bit longer of a time to get through the project. I shouldn't even say a little bit. Like when you have to do like the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC, all those permits through, let's say, the city of Pittsburgh, what would you estimate, like how much longer that takes to get a project done?
I honestly would say, like, if we have all the plans set.
That's for the whole project. I mean, just the permits in general, like that period. Is there like a specific amount of time?
You pull an inspection once you're done. Within a week, they'll be there.
Okay.
And if you pass, you pass.
Okay,
so you can move very quick. It's not like a very long process, right?
Okay.
Sometimes holidays, it can take longer. But that's a good thing with us. We get them even on the holidays, so they will work with us, but it's not really that much longer, right? You can't do so many things at once. You finish the plumbing, you can't just go right away and close the water. You gotta wait for a week, right? So, and then if you finish the HVAC, you gotta wait for a week. And here's the thing: if you're using hard money lender, the hard money is not paying upfront for the plumbing, the HVAC, the electric. If the contractor he's not putting more money in there until he gets that money to use it. So if you want things to move faster, you might want some cash to get things to move or use credit cards.
Yeah, I think that is something I would recommend too, especially for people using hard money, is have some reserves because they can pay you with that. Right. And then when they get the draw, so that they can keep you moving.
Yes.
They get the draw in from their hard money lender. Well, they can keep that. They've already paid you so that you.
And then we have a lot of clients that'll be like, hey, here's an example, 20K, keep things moving because I want to be done by, April. I was like, sure. And while we're waiting for this, because I put like maybe 20, 30, 40K, I use a lot of my money for our clients. While I wait for the money to come, you send us 20, I can get the roof, I can get,
it makes it so much easier
done. By the time the inspection comes, we're done. So we'll work with people to get things moving faster as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, especially the flippers that are trying to scale quick, they're operating out of a place of no financial background or foundation. You know what I mean? So they're operating with no liquidity, and they're just using hard money the whole time, and it makes it very difficult.
You're doing so many, but the seasoned investors where they were like, I tell them in the beginning, listen, I'm gonna pull permits like this. I can be done in April. I'm gonna need after I finish 20K. They're like, okay, you got it.
Yeah.
And then if the project is going to take 3-4 months, it's done in 2 months. Sometimes they do not in a rush. Okay, cool. So people have options. Now, when people stretch themselves too thin, which you know what I'm talking about, right? They got no money. Now they're requesting you to move faster, and they're requesting you to finish in a month, as an example. You know what I mean? Then I don't need you. I can just go buy the house myself and do it all for myself. What are you doing here? You got to understand that a little bit too. We see it a lot from investors are not very, familiar with that.
Process,
The process.
and what you need to keep moving. And all right, so one more thing on the clients, like
And
contractor
renovations,
relationship. Yeah. So change orders. How do you guys manage them? I know it's been a big pain point for you, but
Yeah.
just seeing you grow and whatnot. How have you been
Yes.
managing that?
I hate change order personally.
Yeah.
Because, I'm an investor as well too. And if we set a budget that we're going to fix the house for 120K, which is the average number, I want to finish it with 120K. I take it personally. As Omar, has nothing to do. It might be hurting my business even, but I really want to get you to finish it at 120. Unless you just want to change the whole plan we have. If we set a plan, we see the house or something we didn't see, like the sewer, you didn't get it inspected, or we thought the roof was good, you didn't get a home inspection and it started leaking, stuff like that, which I always recommend. If it's your first view, pay the money. I think it's 600 or 800. Get Robbie, is amazing. Shout out to Robbie. Double inspection, he takes his time. He'll get you set. So unless you totally change the plan, there's no way I can keep you at the 120, right? If you come in the middle and tell me, hey, so I changed my plan. We're going to add a tub. We're going to remove that wall. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. I can't keep you at 120. So I will put a change order. Small stuff, we don't send change orders. The team does. Small stuff here and there, we don't change. We don't do change orders. We'll take care of it. As an example, yesterday, one of my good clients, we go to do the roof, right? I have a price for the roof. We take all the shingles out. The wood underneath is destroyed.
From water
damage,
wood.
It's a beautiful house. It's going to be a great rental. It said that the renovation price for this house, I think, is 180. It's a big house. So I told my roofer to do it, and that cost about like $3,000 extra, just to replace all the plywood and all the framing of the roof. I texted to my client. I was like, listen, I'm going to do this. I still think we can get it for the 180. And he was like, no, let me send you the 3K. And I was like, no, let's just wait, right? Let's keep going through the project and see. Which I do. I do with a lot of my people. I want them to make money. If I tell you 180, we're very known for that. We will get you done with 180 unless unforeseen things happen or you change your mind. You're going to tell me, hey, you know what? Let's just build another bedroom. Let's do this. If we change the scope or anything unforeseen, yes. But other than that, we don't send change orders.
Yeah.
We stick to it. We find stuff. We fix it. We show you that we fix it just like that roof. And we don't charge you. God blesses us too.
Yeah. I like to go back and use my menu at the restaurant analogy. It's like when they order, you order appetizer, dinner, and dessert, or just an appetizer and dinner.
Yeah.
They're not going to come back and say, oh, hey, your dinner just went up higher. No.
Right.
But if they add dessert on at the end of it, you're like, hey, it's you got to charge you. Like it's kind of like that simple. And for some reason, I just feel like people don't understand that.
But also, I see why, because sometimes people say a price and then they change, the contractor got charged, which is true. And sometimes the contractor just might be like, hey, it's a change order, I think it's costing more. Like we've been after some contractors, like working after them. Where I was like, what happened? They were like, hey, they just told me that they misbid the house. I was like, oh, how many bids did you get? They were like, it's just them. So what do you do there? Like they told them it's going to cost 60 and then all of a sudden they ran out the 60 and, in the first month and they need more money to pay their crews. They don't have money. So that's where, they underbid. They need to change it. We don't underbid. We bid exactly. We've gotten so good at knowing exactly how much. I can look at a house and know how much exactly it will cost. I've done so many of them. I know exactly how much it's going to take.
Yeah, I think that's a whole thing in its own to get into. Is just estimating the rehab cost. And I would say if you're newer getting into it, kind of just trust what we're telling you because we've seen a lot of it. All right. Just a couple more questions and I'll let you go. Yeah. So switch just really quickly to investing for you, right?
That's good.
So what is your plan moving forward with real estate investing? Because I know where you have 9 doors right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to get to double digits. Get me one.
You got to get one soon.
I got to get one.
So I know what has been your investing strategy in the past and where you...
So, in the past, I was very big fan of the burst strategy. I'm not anymore, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people find that shocking. It's great, but you got to understand you need a lot of deals to make money, right? It depends on what your goal is. So for me personally, the burst strategy can be good, but with the interest rate being high, you get a cash flow, 200, 300, 400, maybe multi-unit, you can make more. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
For me personally.
If your goal is cash flow.
If my goal is cash flow.
Then it's not worth it.
My personal goal is to have a lot of long-term rentals. I like the idea of long-term rentals. That's what I love. So, in the beginning, I did a couple. I did 401k, I did 203k, 401k, yeah. It's funny. I used to do that too, the 401k. But I did a 2 or 3K loan. That was my very first one. I did hard money, refinance, and long-term tenant. I've done I did a lot of seller finance, a lot of seller finance and creative finance.
You got into a lot of the YouTube.
Yeah, I was learning it all out. And dude, they're amazing. I still have the Anchorage property. I bought it for, she wanted 70K and I had minus $10,000 in my bank account. So we put it on, actually soon enough, I'm going to pay it off. Like it's almost done.
And you own it outright.
Own it outright. So I pay her $450 a month. We've been like great friends, I pay her $450 a month. I had it now for like 5 years. $450 a month. And then I'm renting it for $1,200. That's how much she was renting it for. She was getting $450 from her tenant.
Yeah.
So I was like, listen, I'll pay you the $450. I'll do the repairs. I go there, I repaired the stuff that needed to. I raised the rent from $1,200 because he was underpaying, and it's a great tenant.
Same tenant still?
Same tenant still.
Oh my God.
I haven't been there
over
years,
double.
Knock on wood. The dude has been great. We got a lot of liquor in the house, like crazy, like maybe 300, 400 bottles of liquor. He loves his whiskey.
He's too drunk to
He's
tell
too
you.
drunk to think
You
about
might want to go check him out.
Yeah, I mean, he would say stuff here and there, but nothing. He's the best tenant. Sends rents before the month starts. No issue. I haven't raised it again. Maybe I'm thinking about it. Yeah, but no. So he sends it $1,200. I send her the $450. It's an amazing deal. And guess what? I got the zero money in. We just structure it. I was like, I'll take care of the problem. She lives in Hawaii. Someone. She was like, this problem. These things do exist. Read their YouTube. But now my goal is to own more real estate, is to make money, buy the cheap ones, fix them up, rent them out, and
You want to pay cash.
a lot of like the ones we've
No
done
mortgage.
recently. I like to, it depends on where the deal, goes, because what do you do next? So some of them will have mortgages. Maybe I'm thinking about diversifying. There's a lot of ideas right now. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, more of what I'm doing, grow the cash flow.
Yeah.
Because it's not about how many properties you own. Some people will jump here and be like, okay, I got 300 properties, 500 properties. Like, show me how much money you're getting at the end of the month in your bank account.
Yeah.
It's not like that's the bigger pockets, stuff. I can sit here and tell you why more properties, grow my business, and give you more deals.
Yeah.
But it's so dumb to not look at the real thing. It's like, you need a lot of properties to cash flow with the burst strategy or these things, but do some flips.
Yeah.
Don't be too stuck on one thing. See what works for you. Some people would buy 2 properties, then the roof goes out or like roof goes bad or the HVAC goes out or something. Usually cash flow is all gone. If you're investing, buying long-term rentals, think of cash flow.
Yeah.
Don't think of anything else. Nothing else matters. Don't tell me in 20 years is going to be, we don't know that. We just know how much money is going to bring you right now. That's at least my philosophy on long-term investing. And I love the cash flow. I would rather have less property that cash flows more with half the work than, 200
Half
properties
the
making
work's
me.
a good point. It really is.
Then having 200 properties, like a lot of people that we've heard here, we've gone to seminars and heard people talk about like, oh, we got this, how many, but you have so many partners and you're doing all these things and all of them are in bad condition and you're making $200 a property.
I think what I tell clients is, it's like, what is your goals? It's
Right.
like, is your goal cash flow? Is your goal like bringing money in, or is your goal just to bring long-term wealth?
People just have some cash, they want to park it. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Still, real estate is great for everything. It depends on what your goal.
Yeah, I think there is a time and place where like
The
it
burr will
might
make sense,
make
yes.
sense for you, right? It's just not your.
I mean, I did it.
Yeah.
I was still doing it from them, right?
And I'll give you a great example like this. We just purchased an off-market Mount Washington duplex. Great spot, big driveway. Talk to each other, like me and my uncle and aunt, and we're like, what are our goals right now? We have all these other projects going on. We have a lot of rentals right now, I feel like, and it's a lot of renovations. So our goal right now is to bring in cash. We need cash. We're operating
Yes.
out of like a poor cash position. So I realized
That was
that
horrible.
I realized I can sell this property right now. I can clean it up. I
Yes.
don't have to do any renovations, and I can sell it and make what I would make on a 3 or 4 month flip project, right?
Yes.
I feel like I'm going to make a lot of money just by selling it. So as bad as I want to burn it, because I have hard money on it, so I would have to renovate it and then refinance it, I know the cash flow would be little to none on it.
Yes.
And instead, I need that immediate cash so I can keep my business going. Because what do you say all the time? The number one goal is stay in business. Yeah.
That's number one goal.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Stay in business.
Yeah. And so for me, I need to make that move to stay in business because we need healthier cash.
And not to stress yourself too thin.
Exactly. Yeah. I would
You
be
gotta-
stressed if we held on to
Yeah.
that a little bit.
But you can be so proud with how many doors you have. It doesn't make
No,
any sense.
it doesn't.
Just focus on the good deals. Focus on your goal, what your goal is. Don't get sidetracked, shiny object syndrome. Like, you've seen this so many times, like,
steady.
Steady wins the game.
All right, last few questions for you, and I will let you. All right,
It's okay.
so switching total gears here.
Okay, I like that. I'm getting
with you
excited.
for a second.
I like the deep conversations. You know that.
All right, you wake up in the morning. What's like the one thing that you feel like lights the fire under your ass, keeps you motivated, keeps you moving, wakes you up for the day to keep working hard?
See, I never need that anymore, Matt.
You don't need it?
I don't need anything to wake me up. I'm swear I was
Besides
going to say
coffee.
what I was going to say. Yeah, I do need coffee. I definitely do need my coffee and my creamery. But I wake up, I try to get up early before the work starts because the day gets crazy, right? You got projects, you got clients, your attention. Everybody wants your attention. It gets, hey, we got this deal, this person, this client needs to talk to you. So I try to get up early before all that, just so I have some time for me, like focus on how things are going, reflecting. What do I need to do? What's big things I'm working on? It's not just the business, other things I'm working on in my life. Like what's going on here? What's going on here? Then I definitely like to get out. I haven't been working out early in the morning, but I would at least, like maybe just get on the treadmill for a little bit, do some push-ups, some pull-ups, just get moving for even like 10 minutes, shower, pray, get my coffee, play some music. That's how I start the morning.
Okay.
Like that's my perfect morning.
So for you, what wakes you up in the morning is just your personal time that you have to yourself.
I love that personal time in the morning. It's just before the work starts. And like around 8 o'clock, I get started with like, okay, it's time to go 8 to 12. That's like 8 to 12. I put good 4 hours. That's like where I'm really focused. Yeah. So I'll do like the numbers, the stuff for the business, big things. Then I'll go to the gym at 12. After that, I'll just meet up with any in the afternoon, all my meetings. I try like in the morning, I just want to focus. After that, I just go. Like if you'll see, anytime you text me, let's meet, I'll be like afternoon. I'll never do it in the morning. When I have meetings in the morning, throws everything off. I try to push it all towards the afternoon. Yeah. And my team knows that too. So when they schedule something, they schedule it in the afternoon. I just like to have till 12 o'clock. That's my time to get my work done. Okay. If that was the question, or was your question is what's driving me to keep going?
Yeah, more or less. But no, I mean, like you waking up in the morning is you're motivated because you have that personal time to yourself before work. But yeah, at the same token, like what is it that keeps you driving and working hard?
Once you really get to a certain point, like at the beginning, I've never really needed anything to, super motivate me beside, my family, where I come from, my story, making it happen. I paid so much of a price. I sacrificed so many years not being with my family. It's so good to not go for it. Like there's no way I can turn my eyes. And maybe a lot of people, especially in America, they take it for granted because they haven't seen the other side. Part of me, I gotta show my kids, this is not the norm. It's gonna make a difference. Like, especially the boys, the girls I'm gonna spoil. The boys I will too, but to an extent,
Yeah.
The boys, they gotta see that this is not the normal. And I see it in a lot of people that are born here, how they take it for granted. Mm-hmm. It's just how life is. It's a beautiful blue sky. I got food, but no, like there's an opportunity here. You can go for it, and
don't waste it. Right?
Once I seen that, don't waste it. Don't waste it. What a waste of life. Like once I've seen the opportunity here, and I think that's a lot of people think like, why immigrants work so hard? Like, why? Because they know what's on the other line. They know that this opportunity doesn't really just exist everywhere, and they better make something of it because they got things. So once I noticed that and I came with this mentality, I was a little hard worker and, want to build something. I've never been turned off where I was like, like nobody ever had told me, when are you going to get off the couch? Or, nobody. I don't need anybody.
You don't need anything to do.
I'm always going to keep doing my best. And I'm not attaching anything to an external, till I get to this level or when I have 20 properties, when I have 500. As far as every day, even when I'm there, where I think, okay, I've made it as big as I can get. I will still wake up every day just trying to give my best because that's the goal. Just wake up, give your best. Yeah. If I can do the best, that doesn't happen every day, and I know that. But I know I try to give my best to every single day. Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay. Yeah. Something external though would be you driving around the rules. Royce this past weekend.
That was great. That was amazing.
All right. Last question. One thing when you got little Elmars one day, the young children. What's one thing like if you could give them a lesson? What would you give them? Believe them with.
That's a deep one. There's a lot of things I want to tell them, like I gotta pick the one thing.
Pick one, man.
One thing just for my kids, my future young Omars or anything.
Yeah, we'll say young Omar.
All right. Oh, a young Omar.
Boy, okay, I know you have a difference there, so yeah, we'll say young.
There is a little difference there. I would just say, so one thing I would want to do and teach him is to really protect his values and what he goes for, right? Because, and not take advice from anyone. That's another thing that comes in, you know? And it doesn't mean that you don't see it happening, right? Or it's not around you. That's not true because a lot of people will influence that unless that fire is in you, right? You got to build that fire. If you have something, go for it. Don't have any self-limiting beliefs. Destroy self-limiting beliefs. That's the one thing. I was like, you have no self-limiting beliefs. There's nothing you cannot accomplish. So if there's something I'll tell them is like, there's nothing you really cannot accomplish. Nothing. Nothing in this world. But you just got to know where to stop, right? If you want to keep going, keep going. But there's absolutely nothing that you cannot accomplish that you really want and work hard for. You want to become the best basketball player? Well, shit, if they told you don't have the right genetics. Go fucking practice, you know? That's exactly want to become a boxer? Go practice. Go work. Go work your ass in the gym. There's nothing. Don't listen to people, you know? Because people would tell you that stuff. People have doubts. They'll tell you that. And you just have to really believe it and eliminate all your self-limiting beliefs that the society and your circle, which I will do my best for my kids and my family to keep them away from any self-limiting beliefs. But they just sometimes your brain does that thing, you know? What if I go to America and things don't work out? What if I just, you know, go this fight and get knocked out, you know, like whatever it is. So definitely you'll need the self-limiting belief and chase like fulfillment in life and know your purpose, why you're doing what you're doing.
Love it. Love it, man. Yeah.
What is yours? Now I'm curious.
Oh, just to like say,
Okay,
like,
negative, but
when you were saying, what if this happened? Like, something that's always helped me is like, that is just as real as what if you got to America and you succeeded and you made a ton of money and you're happy. And it's just as real. They're both stories. You can pick a story to run with.
But your brain always just picks sometimes, you know, a lot of things because it's a mechanism. Like, what's going to happen? You know, and it's okay to fail. You know, like the movie The Matrix, nobody jumps. Nobody makes a jump on their first. Everybody falls on their first time when like Neo is going to jump and he falls and people are like, what's going on? Maybe he's not the one. And he said, everybody falls on their first time. Yeah. Everybody falls on their first. It's okay to fail.
It's okay to fail. It's not okay not to try.
Number one rule is what? You gotta stay
in business.
Stay in business. It doesn't matter. Fail. You know, fuck it all up. Just keep going, man. What is yours? I'm curious.
What is mine? I gotta ask this question on every show.
Nobody's gonna ask you back. I guarantee for you, the next few ones, nobody will ask you that.
I think the number one thing I would leave my kids would be probably just. I know. I can't believe you answered that quickly.
I don't think that was quick too. It took me a little bit. I feel like that.
No, it feels like it's taken a while, but. I would say the number one thing is just to honestly just be present in whatever it is you're doing. I think I struggled with that a lot. And now, especially you're starting to make like up all these stories and things that can happen and not happen. You're living in the future or you're depressed about the past because this happened and you did this wrong. It's like be present. And I think to me, that's been the biggest game changer for my life. It's like, whatever I'm doing, I want to focus on that and be there for that. If I'm playing with my kids, when I have kids, I want to be there and focus on playing with my kids. I don't want to be worried about work. And it gets really hard, especially in this business, because your phone's going off 24/7. It feels like it's like
you keep it on silent or no?
I need to use the do not disturb a little bit more. It's very easy to get pulled away from what you're doing, again, especially in this business. So it's like I would tell them to always try to be present and. Like, if you're out with your family, be with your family. You know what I mean? And I think that's a huge game changer. I think it eliminates 98% of our problems, to be honest with you. I don't even know what that other 2% is, but I know by not being in the past and not being in the future,
it's very tough to do too. Like, it takes a very strong person to be like, you know, whatever happened in the past happened. Whatever might happen in the future might happen. A lot of times your brain, it's a study that they did too, your brain doesn't know the difference between your imagination and what's actually happening. When you're sitting down there, okay, we bought this house and it's gonna, I don't know if it's gonna fail. I really want to go talk to this girl, but what if she says, your body's, you start sweating, you know, you start, because your brain doesn't know a difference. It imagines it and it translates, it's a study, it's a show.
There's something sour in your mouth, like it's a feeling, like you can feel that sourness.
So you just gotta, it's a very good one to like be present all the time and do things. I want to ask you one more last question.
What do you got?
What's your, give me one goal real estate wise for you?
One goal real estate wise. So I have two separate things from a business. I have my investing and I have my real estate business. Right now, my immediate real estate agent business goal is to create a team under me, and I want to create a team like a business. You know what I mean? I want to treat it like a business. I want to be able to coach people. I want to be there for them when they need help and things like that. I really want to train and lead people. Like, that's something.
I didn't know that. Do you believe it? Like, I'm just finding that out on the podcast. I didn't know you want to go that route, but that's awesome.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed like being in leadership roles and positions and helping people. I just want to help see people be successful. I don't want 40 shitty doors like we were talking about earlier. I'm very picky on what I buy, and very picky on what I hold. And for the reason why I want that is because I feel like that's going to be great to be able to live the rest of my life on, right? Like it's going to get to a point where I want to be able to do whatever I want. I want to be able to try different things. Maybe I don't want to do real estate when I'm 60 years old. Maybe I want to try something else. And I feel like that's what that's going to give me. Like if I have 40 quality doors,
That's a great goal.
Yeah.
It's a great goal to be able to like, it's not just, life is not just chasing money. You'll never have it all.
Right.
You gotta, actually time is worth way much than money because I can always make money. I can be 60 and make money if I have to. But you'll never be 60 and be able to be like, I'm 33 or 32 or go back to that. Yeah. Once it passes, it passes. So you just got to really be present and not be chasing money all the time. And it's hard because you get caught up. And when you have, let's say your goal is the 40 doors and you get there, you don't have to chase money anymore. You're financially free. You can do whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah, I think it's just it's a great way to provide freedom for me. And that's what I'm seeking. That's what wakes me up every day is more freedom and freedom for my family. And that's what I love. And it's a lot saying that to you because I feel like you felt that more. Well, because of your background and where you've come from and everything, I feel like you did, like, especially when you got here, like you had a lot of constraints, you know what I mean? That you didn't have citizenship and things like that. So you know that more than anybody that I at least know. But I feel like that's what most people chase is that freedom. I don't think it's money. I feel like it's the freedom to choose what they want to do. And that's kind of like, if I want to start a different podcast when I'm 60 or travel somewhere, I want to be able to do that.
That's actually what freedom is to be able to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And you're right, but to get there, you need the money to get there, right? Because you can't be free. You can be free and broke. You can just have a bed and some place.
You'll just be under the whole stress. I mean,
what a way to live. What kind of life that is, right? But you can do that if that's what you want. But if you want to really do whatever you want to do, you want to rent a Rolls Royce in a weekend. It's just whatever you want to do. You don't want to be. You gotta get money, a whole lot of it, and it doesn't take much really to make it and get that money or get the 40 doors if you're really focused. And then you gotta know, because I had that conversation with one of my friends that, can you ever reach fulfillment in life? And I was like, yes. If you have goals and you're working towards them, you can be full. But if you just keep chasing, because there's always gonna be somebody higher, there's always gonna be somebody. You make $1 billion, there's somebody to make 100 million. Where does it stop, right? Yeah. So you're right, but you gotta make money. When you don't have money, your life is tough. It's really, really tough.
You're
even here in America.
You can't. It's very hard. Like I think what we do as humans is we create. You create your business. I can create this or create that. It's very hard to create things, and when you're in a place of stress and worry and anxiousness about money and paying your bills, how do you do it out of that position? It's very hard. So I think money being in a comfortable position there gives you that opportunity to think about other things and create and do bigger things from there.
Absolutely.
So I think it's
great.
important.
That's deep.
Yeah. That's deep. So, all right, let's wrap this up. How can people get in contact with Omar Mohamed?
So Instagram is a great way, Mr. Property O, Mr. O. Facebook, we have a page as well too. Email, there's so many ways they can reach out. We have our construction business phone number. They can leave a message or can reach out. So text, if they need renovation needs, the number is there too. We have our website being launched, so we got a lot of things people can reach out. If they honestly just Google Omar Mohamed, or Mr. Property, they will find so many ways. But we're very active on social media, and I actually personally go in and talk to people, even if they want to get in real estate or whatever. I'm handling all the social media for now myself. I don't have anybody yet. I have a few people that do stuff, but the messages and the stuff, we just answer it, and the sales. So people can reach out anytime.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for jumping on, man. This is the Pittsburgh Real Estate Project. I'll see you guys back next time.